attends a lot of Hall of Fame dinners with every association, particularly in the Southeast, that there's no other association that has that kind of turnout at their Hall of Fame dinners. To me, it kind of floored me and just thought it was a great sense of pride in the community that we have with golf in Mississippi. So I want to thank you all. So 2023 was an unbelievable year for the MGA. You will see a video here shortly when I'm done talking that's going to recognize all of our state champions, all of our players of the year. From a state level, we have had a lot of success with golfers in Mississippi over the last few years. We've seen that dramatically take a spotlight on the regional and national level here recently. You're going to see that the majority of all of the USGA championships were represented by a Mississippian. You're going to see that we have PGA Tour players that are winning PGA and LPGA Tour events that are from Mississippi. You're going to see an amateur that won in Canada this year. So the spotlight that golfers from Mississippi are having on a national level is extremely huge. And I know the trajectory that we are continuing to grow with is only going to continue. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't thank a lot of people in here, because it's the people in this room that have helped the growth. It's our PGA Tour professionals. It's our assistant professionals. It's the first tee of Mississippi. It's our junior instructors. It's our clinic instructors. It's everybody with the Golf Association and the golf programming in this state that are building these players to levels where they can compete on a national level. So from myself and the Mississippi Golf Association, thank you to all of the golf operators, golf owners, PGA professionals in this room who are helping us succeed. And now, as Ethan said earlier, as we look into 2024, you're going to notice some new looks for the MGA. Just about a month ago, we released our new logo. We are extremely, extremely proud of this. A lot of people had a hand in making this possible. We wanted something new, something fresh, something that represented the MGA, but also the pride that we have in the state that we live in. And I think that this logo does exactly that. So beyond the logo, next week I am happy to announce that you will see a new website launch from the Mississippi Golf Association. So we're extremely excited about that. And as Ethan alluded to earlier, the growth that we have seen over the last 4 or 5 years has been phenomenal. We have been one of the fastest growing states as far as membership based on size. And this year we will exceed 10,000 members for the MGA. So great success. And we just thank everybody for their continued support in that success. Lastly, wonderful evening, wonderful tournament experiences that the MGA provides. I can't stand up here and take any of that honor. I've worked for a lot of associations in the 20 plus years that I've been in golf, from Tennessee to Texas to West Virginia and now here. I will say this, we have a small staff, but I would put all 4 of these people up against any other association in the country. At this time, I want to recognize our staff members for all of the hard work that they give. Guys, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough for what you mean to me and what you mean to everybody in this room. These staff members work their tail off. I mean, we are 80 to 90 plus nights every year on the road. We are 15-hour days on the golf course. It's come home, wash your clothes, and get back out on the road for another week. They don't complain. We are a close-knit family. We have to be. I see these 4 guys more than I see my wife and my daughter for about 6 months out of the year. So at this time, I want to recognize our staff. Our Senior Director of Competitions, Adam Smith. If you'll stand. Our Director of Course Rating and Tournament Operations, Jared Johnston. New to the team, what has it been, about a month or so? Our Director of Communications and Membership, Braden Conover. And the man, the myth, the legend that keeps it rolling, our USGA boatwright intern right now, Chandler Thornhill. Again, we thank you so much for being here. We hope you enjoy the night. We're going to have about a 10-minute video recapping 2023. And again, to each of the inductees, you and your families, congratulations and well-deserved.
Quite a year for Mississippi golf, isn't it? It's pretty awesome. Once again, I have the pleasure of introducing our state championship winners, our Hall of Fame, our all of our awards tonight. I'm privileged to do that, so thanks for joining me tonight. First off, if you're a 2023 state championship winner, stand up and be recognized. All our championship winners, everybody stand up. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing you back standing up again at this event next year. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, we want to introduce our MGA award, MJGA Players of the Year. Have all of them come up. A lot of them are out of town. There's a big junior four-ball going on in Louisiana. So first off, these are the ones that I'm going to recognize that are not here. The great Grayson Davis, the boys overall and boys 16 to 18-year-old Player of the Year. Harper Hinckley, girls overall and girls 16 to 18 Player of the Year. Eliza Yelverton, girls 13 to 15 Player of the Year. I'm going to mispronounce this one. Tendikai Nyandoro. Did I get close? Anybody? Boys 12 to 13 Player of the Year. Cameron. Is this on? Is this on? These are here. So when I call your name out, come up to the front, and you'll have a chance to say a few words, no more than 15 minutes worth. Tucker Gutierrez, boys 14 to 15 Player of the Year.
Got it? There.
I'd just like to thank the Mississippi Golf Association for letting me have this opportunity. I'd like to thank my family for supporting me. And yeah, you. And I'd like to thank my friend Bowman for being here to support me tonight. And I'd like to thank his parents for having him before June 1st. Because if he was in my age division, I would not be here today. That's all I got.
Good job, man. All right. Good job.
I challenge any speakers tonight to top that one. At this time, we'll call our MGA Players of the Year to the stage. These two are not here. Brett Patterson, Player of the Year, and Avery Weed, the Women's Player of the Year. Give them a round of applause. These four are supposedly here. Casey Ham, Senior Player of the Year. Ricky Sims, Super Senior Player of the Year. Paige Phillips, Women's Senior Player of the Year. And Pam Posey, Women's Super Senior Player of the Year.
Thank you. That's about what I got. But I do want to thank you and Carter and the MGA for the great work y'all do. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I would like to thank my good friends, Richard, Sid, Betsy. Thank you guys for coming, hanging out with me tonight. Thank all of y'all for coming and participating in this. Mississippi golf is alive and well. That's awesome, and we really appreciate it. Thank MGA guys, Adam, all the hard work you guys do every week that we're out there playing. Really appreciate it. And I don't think I can top him, but I would like to thank Sissy, Shannon, and Sheila for not signing up for as many tournaments as I did.
Yeah, but we miss them. We have so much fun in the senior group, for sure. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just excited. I see so many wonderful golfers out there. And, if I didn't play the game of golf, I probably wouldn't even know you. So I'm just overwhelmed. I really am. And thank you, Carter and Adam and all the MGA staff for putting on this wonderful celebration tonight. It's just a pleasure to be here and keep inspiring our younger golfers as well as our older golfers. Encourage them and support them in every way you can. And this lady right here is an inspiration to me. I just love to watch her strategically plan every golf course and play it so well. And we're missing some tonight. Yeah, we are. But it's a wonderful night. And thank you.
One of the neatest awards we give out at this every year is the Robbie Webb Award. Of course, Robbie Webb, a legacy in his own name as far as what he did for junior golf throughout the state of Mississippi, and that's why the award's named after him. Tonight's recipient of the Robbie Webb Award is Kyle Ellis, Director of Instruction of Country Club of Oxford. He has weekly junior clinics 3 days a week after school, including boys 5 to 8, girls golf of Oxford, and boys 9 to 13. Conducts over 120 clinics per year. Private junior lessons weekly, helps run the North Mississippi Coke Tour, which holds 9 to 10 events each year, averaging 110 players and 230 Coke Tour members in 2023. Help me congratulate Kyle Ellis.
Hope y'all can hear me. This is a really cool honor. I got a phone call back I guess 1st of January, kind of promoting this award. So thank you all in this room who nominated me, to thinking up of me. So I thank you so much. Sorry, I don't give a lot of speeches. I want to thank my family, the support crew that I have at home, not only the Country Club of Oxford for giving me the opportunity to make an impact on junior golf in the state of Mississippi. So I appreciate everyone in this room, and congratulations on your year and your success, and look forward to a good 2024. Thank you, guys.
She said that trophy was hers. At this time, I want to recognize our Hall of Fame winners. I'll introduce each the presenter for the recipients as they come up. A great cast of members this year for the Hall of Fame, as we have every year. The Carter and the team have put together a great year every year since we started this. Our first presenter will be Ethan Smith, presenting to Steve Wilson. Ethan.
All right, like I told you guys before, you're gonna have to hear a lot of me tonight. So here we go. What's really funny is that I spend probably 51 weeks a year attacking Steve Wilson on the golf course, like going after him nonstop. Like, you know, we're in the same group. We usually normally play against each other. I spend time attacking them. So this is weird. You know, having to get up and you know, and actually praise him. So I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of that, but you know, it is what it is. If you guys would just bear with me for a second, like I said, I'm not a very good public speaking is not really my thing, but I'm more of a Q&A guy. So at any moment tonight, if anybody has like any questions as I go through this, just raise your hand. I call on you, you ask me, and we'll you know, I'll tell you anything you need to know about Steve. I'm already my best, like as if it were Steve answering the question. So go through from there. So, you know, like go through I was making notes today while we were playing at CCJ. So, you know, by the way, of course, in great shape. Green's a little slow, but other than that, everything's good. Thank you, Becker. All right. So, Steve, I was trying to figure out what I'm going to say about Steve Wilson. You know, other than his resume, everybody knows all about Steve and his resume. So, I gathered my notes, and this past Wednesday, we had our normal golf game, which is called the Original Five, and it was a special day because this game has not happened in a while. So the Original Five is myself, it is Josh Lampley, it is Brett Parker, it is Steve Wilson, and it's Keith Fayard. And this group was started around in 2010. And for the most part, this group is responsible for why I am standing here today. Not just introducing Steve, but why we have so much been involved with the MGA over the last, 14, 15 years. And we all kind of quit playing golf, and by happenstance, me and Josh happened to work together, and and then Josh's wife and Brett's wife worked together, and they said, "Hey, do you guys play golf?" "Yeah, we all play golf." Like, well, let's go try to play sometime, And then, and we went out and we started playing, and I think Josh and Brett's first tournament together was the MGA state four ball. And those guys, I think they probably shot $1 million, and they left the golf course and both got texts from different groups saying how, garbed the other one is. But, look at those guys now. They've won multiple state four. I don't know how many of you guys won? 4. So the game has evolved over the last year. So the last few years, but then shortly after, that started, Josh, me and Josh and Brett were playing. He said, "Hey, I know Steve. I used to play with him a lot. He used to take advantage of me on the golf course when I was in high school and win money off of me and all that sort of stuff. So maybe he will come and join our game." And so Josh invited Steve. Steve brings a guy called Keith Fayard, and the only reason he's not here tonight is because he does not travel north of I-10. But he does make the best po' boys on the coast, or in the best burgers and the best thing if you ask him. So Fay's a wonderful guy, and he was part of the Original Five that I talked about, is me, Josh, Brett, and Steve. So the very first time we play, we get there and we show up, and it might have been at Wind Dance. I can't even remember the course, but I know from the moment that we all hit our first shots, Fay and Steve never let us know that there was not a better duo on the coast than those guys. They were the toughest guys around. They were the best ones. That nobody fooled with those guys. Like, you did not, if you play golf on the coast, there was no way that you could beat Steve and Faye. But then you see Fayard hit, and you don't know. I mean, you just can't. It's impossible to describe the. This is only funny to me and these guys sitting right here. I understand that, and you guys just bear with me because it's all gonna like come together eventually. But anyway, you just can't describe how terrible Faye is, but like how bad he like berates you on the golf course, and it's crazy. But anyway, so we hear this rhetoric about how they're the toughest team around for the next 14 years. So even through this past Wednesday. Which we were excited about having the game, that one that we haven't had we have it, but we haven't had this particular original 5 group in a little while. So, and I say a little while in golfing terms, that's probably 2 months. So we're happy to be there. So I don't know if anybody in this room has ever been a part of a group where the opposing team constantly like roasts you the entire time you play. Like if you hit from the first time you make your first swing, they're all over you. But anyway, this past Wednesday, I teed off and I hit my shot. And so, by the way, I brought my like notepad because I know we had this event tonight. So I brought my notepad to like write some notes down. Be like, this is a perfect time for me to like to write down a speech or create a speech or do something for this event tonight, because this is the first time I've been around these guys in a little while, and let's like try to put a little speech together for Wilson, because he's going to induct in the Hall of Fame. So I have my notepad out there with me. I have everything going, and I hit my first tee ball. I knock it, unfortunately we take 2 off the first tee. I may have taken the second one. I can't remember. But anyway, I knocked it up there. I make a putt for birdie. And Faye's like, "Well, that's a miracle that happened." So anyway, in our group, if you birdie the first hole, like you've ever heard, we got the B1J, which is the birdie one jinx. And the only way to like to not where the B1J is no longer an issue anymore is to throw your ball in the water. So I grab my ball and I throw it and it bounces and then goes in the water. But that obviously wasn't good enough because it didn't fly all the way in the water. I promise this is going to make sense in a few minutes, guys. I promise. Just bear with me. So we're gonna make the full circle here in a minute. So I throw it and it bounces and it goes in the water, and Faye's like, "Oh, that doesn't count. It didn't bounce. It didn't go all the way in the water." So, I'm like, "Whatever, Faye. Hit your shot from the ladies too. It doesn't matter. Just keep going." So over the next 4 hours, I spent the entire time getting my butt kicked by Wilson and Fayard, and me and Josh and Brad. They were murdering us the entire time. And beating us, and and constantly they were doing their dances on the green when they made putts. When we missed putts, they would, shake and run off the green. That's how, and Fayard never really contributes to Wilson, but he did today. He did that day. He was like making 30-footers going, "That's how we do it," and all the other stuff that goes on. And so long story short, we get to the end of the round and we get our butts kicked by Wilson and Fayard. And just to put a little point on that, Fayard gets 8 shots around. We give him 8 shots, like 8 pops. And so he gets 8 shots every single round against us. And on number 16, he dinks one out there off the tee. It goes 97 yards. We shoot it from the fairway back to there. He goes 97 yards. He dinks another one out there. He makes a cozies up there for a 5, makes a net 4, and then says, "Hey, that's a birdie. We beat you guys out of whatever it is. That's how we do it. You can't beat us." So anyway, we get to the end of the round and they have murdered us. And you remember, I bring my notepad out there and I'm writing down, trying to come up with a speech. And I want to tell y'all, this is what I come up with, because I spent the entire time mad as hell at Keith Fayard and Wilson for somehow beating me and Josh and Brett, that the only thing I come up with was Willie Fay, toughest team around. So, that's like, that's what. that is what and then today we're playing. I'm like, need to try to come up with something to say tonight. But anyway, that is, just our game and if it wasn't for Steve and Josh and Brett, I would not be standing here today. I know Steve probably wouldn't be here today if we weren't here. And, he'd probably still be in the Hall of Fame, but that don't mean he actually showed up. Josh and Brett would be, we'd all, it kind of come together full circle. We all started playing MGA events. Once that happened, wanted to continue to compete. And so here we are. So if you want to know why I didn't prepare for a speech, blame Fayard. Somebody, whoever knows him, whoever goes, gets a po' boy on the coast, tell him. But anyway, all right, we'll move on. Also, on a side note, Steve Wilson is the best damn golfer in January and February in the state. And if Carter and them had any of these tournaments in January and February, he would have the list would be much longer. So yeah, he's also probably, since 2009, the only person in the world that has more WDs in high-profile tournaments and USGA events is Tiger Woods than Steve Wilson. Steve, I don't know if that's a fact, but I like to say that it is. Like, he's probably true. Like, he probably has more WDs than anybody. Yeah, he does WD a whole lot. But anyway. All right. Move on. So, in true, Steve Wilson fashion or Ethan Smith fashion, we are here. We're treating this event tonight as a true MGA event to where of recent years of competition, we're showing up very little prepared and not a lot of talent. So, I'm not more anything. So I'm showing up tonight, very little prepared, standing here in front of you guys. That is a tribute to Steve Wilson. And not a lot of talent is on my part. Honestly, I wasn't sure if Steve would actually show tonight. That was a real question if he was actually going to show tonight, but he's here. And the only thing I'm worried about now is if he's going to WD before the night ends and leave early. But, so he's still going to be here. Nobody's laughing except this table. So anyway. All right. What was that? I said a question. Is this a question thing? Steve, you got a question? So since I'm more of a Q&A guy, I figured I would think the best way to tell Steve's story was to write down the top 10 questions that I've heard or that people have asked Steve Wilson since I've known him over the last 15 years, and we've become great friends. So, I sent out a list to all of my buddies and everyone, and I said, hey, here are 10 questions. And the top 3 that come back were the first, the 7th, and the 5th question, 175. And they were, the first one was, what was it like to play in the Masters? And, obviously, every Mid-Am MGA player wants to play in the Masters. They asked Steve what it was like. And the funny story about Steve is that almost didn't happen. Like, he qualified, he won the U.S. Mid-Am. He qualified for the Masters. But you guys, Steve shows up and he brings a buddy with him, and then that buddy then in turn, and I may be telling this incorrectly, but I get just right. But the buddy in turn goes into the clubhouse and he's taking pictures and he's doing things that non-members should not be doing at Augusta National. And so Steve gets a letter from the chairman at the time. Was it Billy Payne? He gets a letter from Billy Payne saying that his invitation to the Masters is in jeopardy. And imagine that, like you're sitting there as an amateur, you've hit the pinnacle of amateur mid-am golf as that, you have an invitation to the Masters that might be rescinded. And so that letter should probably go in the Hall of Fame, because that's the only time that a amateur has his invitations to the Masters had the possibility of being rescinded back. So, that's a unique thing that is just tied into Steve Wilson along with the WDs with Tiger Woods. So, all right. So that was the first question. The 7th question was, what was it like to play in the Masters? The 5th question, what was it like to play in the Masters? That's the only thing anybody ever asked Steve about, is just playing in the Masters. So, like I mentioned before, I spent 51 weeks of the year attacking him. And so I just spent 9/10 of my time up here attacking him. But Steve, your record speaks for itself. When you come to Mississippi amateur golf, you were the only one that won a USGA event up until recently. But your amateur, what you have accomplished in the state as far as amateur golf is, you're the envy of everyone like myself. And what I mean by that is that a golfer like myself, I know that I would never be able to play on the PGA Tour or have an accomplished record as a high level, like some of the people that you see on the screen, the Davis Rileys, any Randy Watkins, of any of the guys who have competed at the high level because of the amount of effort and time that it takes to achieve that particular goal. But someone like Steve, he is the envy of every single mid-amateur golfer that I have. We're all, that entire table there is here right now because of Steve, because we all think that even though it may not be possible for myself, we all know that the things that he accomplished are not that far away for the rest of us. Meaning that, he become a better golfer later in life. He wasn't the best junior golfer. He wasn't the best collegiate golfer, but something clicked and he worked at it and he became a better golfer later in life and accomplished and won the tournament that would be the single most tournament that would be coveted by any of a mid-amateur golfer, which would be the U.S. Mid-Am, that gets you an invite into Augusta National and not pretend, but act like you're a member of Augusta for that period of time and then play in the Masters. And at the end of the day, that is just, there are only so many people in the world that could have accomplished that thing, and I am lucky enough, and we are lucky enough to call Steve a friend because he's also the most approachable person in this entire room. He is kind. He is one of the best friends that I have in this world. I can walk up to him at any given moment. Anybody in this room can walk up to him at any given moment and feel completely comfortable talking to him and also making new friends. I mentioned the original 5 earlier. And it's because, they run everybody off, but that's not Steve's fault. That's Faye's fault. But at the end of the day, when you start thinking about Mississippi golf and the things that have come, we've had some really good, wonderful players that and wonderful people that have accomplished things nationally that are unprecedented. But when you start thinking about, and then for myself and players today who want to try to seek to be someone or mimic someone, that person that we try to be like is Steve Wilson because of the things that he has, that accomplished, and he still competes today. He still is involved with the MGA today, and he still is constantly, a part of us and our community that we all cherish as a golf community in the state. So, it's an honor to be here today because if it wasn't for 14 years ago and that table of guys right there, I would not be standing here today. And to be able to introduce him or whatever you're calling it is a I don't know, a pleasure of mine, because there's not enough. I don't have enough words to say the gratitude that we have and us and our group have for Steve Wilson. And I encourage anyone in this room to, if they have a question, to raise their hand and ask me, and I will then in turn give you my best, answer about the Masters. But anyway, Steve, come bring your butt up here and grab this award and go to the Mississippi Golf Hall of Fame and enjoy it and say thank you. Just say thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's such an honor. That's so. Thank you so much. A lot of that stuff's not true, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
What was your line about the Masters? Oh, yeah. Steve also says no tournament has ever cost anybody more money than the Masters cost him, by the way.
Congratulations, Steve. Our next inductee is BF Spec Wilson, presented tonight by Chris Wilson. Chris?
My name is Chris Wilson. Spec Wilson was my father. This year he'd be 110 years old. You want to talk stories? I got them. Okay. The first thing I've got to do is look up and congratulate Mr. Lang, a recipient tonight, because he nominated my father for this award. My family. There's a gentleman of this game. And mostly the game is about gentlemen. It's about honor. My family, my sister, myself, our family, thank Johnny for the nomination. Thank the Golf Association for this award from my father. The events like this do beget stories. And I don't think any sport finds more stories than golf, because stories come from people to people, not groups. I'm reminded that a former inductee of this award, Bob Travis, told me more stories about my father than I ever heard. Now that's golf stories and otherwise. Any of you who knew Bob Travis, I do so wish he was up here with that gigantic smile to tell you just one of the stories he told me. Another inductee comes to mind, Mr. Eddie Merrins, who told me one of the greatest stories about my father. It was at Northwood. I'm not going to tell the story. I am going to thank Mr. Merrins, who recently passed away and was a person of true honor, as all these guys from Northwood who knew him can testify. Spec died in 1967. Not 45 days later, the state amateur championship was held in Laurel, and Bob won the championship, and he was awarded the B.F. Spec Wilson Memorial State Amateur Championship trophy. I hope all of you who have won it in the past realize this man whose name is on it. If you want to know the tournaments he won, if you want to know the kind of person he was, look through this beautiful little brochure that the MGA provided tonight's event. Spec was an unbelievable golfer. As I was pondering what was I going to say about a man who's been dead 50 since 1967, I tried to think of the people who might have seen him play. I was blessed. Okay, Chuck Ray looked at me a while ago and said, "You know, I remember Hunter George and Spec playing, and I was inspired." But I could only come up with about 20 people who actually saw him play, as well as these other giants of golf that started this association and made it as powerful as it is today. those 20 people, to those 20 people, and all the rest of you golfers, not ball strikers, but golfers. May you all continue to play, and may the MGA continue to grow. And congratulate dear friends. Thank you very much for this honor from my father.
Our next inductee is Clay Holman, presented by Richard Reed. Richard?
Thank you. We appreciate you, all you do, MJ. Fantastic job. Good evening, everyone. Again, for those of you that I have not met, my name is Richard Reed, and to say I was honored when Clay reached out to me to introduce him is an understatement. But first off, I would also like to congratulate all the inductees and everyone that was recognized here tonight for their great play in 2023. Also, I would like to take just a second and thank CCJ. The last time I was on this podium was in 2015. We had our centennial celebration. They've just continued to top that every year. So really appreciate CCJ and your partnership with MGA. As I said, it was a thrill when Clay gave me a call the other day and asked me to introduce him. Clay and I have been friends since the early 2000s, and I've seen up close both his incredible play and as well as high character. As I was preparing my remarks and thinking about what I was going to say, I thought back to a couple of years ago when Ken Lindsay stood up here and did a fantastic job introducing Mr. Ben Nelson. And he talked about Mr. Ben Nelson having had 3 successful careers in golf. And I thought that Clay shared that trait. As many of you know, Clay was a golf coach at Mississippi State for a number of years. I believe it was 14 seasons. And during his time there, they had more tournament wins than under any other coaching staff in the school history. They went to the first NCAA championship in school history under Clay. He had a number of his players turn professional. 3 actually obtained their PGA Tour card. Clay was also instrumental in getting the practice facility built at Mossio, which is now home to men's and women's golf at Mississippi State. And just a tremendous coach. He let me hang around the program a little bit, and I got to see how he interacted with his players. Many of them are here tonight. Just a fantastic mentor to them. On the rare occasion that they could beat him, and I mean rare, they knew that they were going to be prepared to play the next tournament. So if not for Clay's fantastic play, I do believe some future Hall of Fame committees would have found their way to bringing Clay into the Hall of Fame just based on his time at Mississippi State. And it's also good to have something in common with Mr. Nelson. But we're here tonight to honor Clay for his talent as a player, some of the best play in the history of Mississippi golf. His talent, almost unmatched. I've been personally blessed throughout the years, being on the board of MGA and playing a lot of tournaments to play just about with anyone and everyone that's played golf in Mississippi. And no disrespect to them or disrespect to anyone sitting in this room tonight. But there was about an 8 to 10 year period where Clay was probably the best of them. He was the longest and straightest driver. He was the best iron player. He was the best wedge player, best bunker player, best pitcher, best chipper, and best putter. And if you ever played against him, you knew that, Carter Callaway. To say Clay was, to use a baseball analogy, I guess you would say Clay is a 5-tool player, and in I guess that case he's an 8-tool player. He had many ways to beat you. Another testament to Clay's talent, and one that I've probably never shared with him, but I really don't like you for this, Clay, is Clay didn't have to practice very much. Now, anyone knows that if you're going to play something at a high level, golf, football, whatever it is, you got to put the time in, and Clay certainly did that. Clay was a second team All-SEC, won several tournaments in college, went on to play professionally, and made a living doing that. And on any tour, that is if you know that is a very hard thing to do. And Clay, as evidence of that, I remember walking up and watching Clay on the practice tee at Old Waverly one night about 5:30, which to me struck me as I had never seen Clay practice very often at all. And the thing about that is I noticed there was a blonde sitting behind him on a towel. So by chance, I just had to go figure out what is Clay Holman practicing for and who is that? I was more interested in who the blonde was. But at any rate, I go up to Clay and say, Clay, what are you doing? And Clay says, well, I signed up for the state am. I thought I would dust the clubs off. And by the way, this is Kim. And so I'm not sure that Clay won that state am that he signed up for, but I think he was trying to impress that beautiful blonde that was sitting behind him, and he did because she's sitting by him tonight. But just a testament to Clay's talent that you can just put him up like that and then come out and win the state championship. Listen to his record. Clay won 5 state amateurs. Not many people in Mississippi that have done that. 1994 Deerfield when he was in college. 2005 Hattiesburg Country Club. Clay actually was the last person in that tournament. Between getting his amateur status back, he had to qualify. And I think he qualified in a playoff and won that tournament. He won 2011 at O'Waverly, 2012 at Reunion, and 2016 at Reunion as well. Clay won 4 mid-amateurs. He won in 2007 at Deerfield, and I think there's a few of us in here that played in that tournament. We teed off on Sunday. It was about 38 degrees. Winds were blowing 10 to 15 out of the northeast. Clay shot 66 that day. No one else broke par. Just phenomenal. I think for coaching duties, he didn't get to play for a couple of years, but in 2010, he went on a 3-peat run. He won in 2010 at Laurel. Carter Calloway and I were playing behind him. We watched him chip it off the first green at Laurel Country Club. We were aghast. How could Clay Hoban, and maybe us mere mortals could do that? But we watched him chip it off the front of the green. He chipped up, made double, but he rebounded pretty well. He won that tournament by 15 shots. I think he shot 15 or 16 under. Now, urban legend has it that Mr. Joe Sanderson got wind of that score and said no one else was going to shoot 15 under par on his golf course. So if you played Laurel Country Club prior to 2010 or after, you might have seen a Clay proofing to that course. He won 2011 at Dancing Rabbit and 2012 at Hattiesburg Country Club. And in true Clay fashion, keeping the clubs in the closet, and I talked to Clay on a regular basis, and I know he did not play a lot in 2022, maybe 3 or 4 times. He turned, in fact, many of y'all don't know, it's Clay's birthday today. But I know there were a lot of people that were sad when Clay turned 50. So he decided to dust them off once again, and he came to Tunica National in October, and yes, he won the senior amateur, another one of the state championships. Clay also won 2 Greenwood Invitationals. I guess that's kind of akin to our Players' Championship in Mississippi. Fantastic field. He won in 2005 and 2013. Clay was a 6-time Governor Cup participant, and he would have played on many more teams had it not been for his coaching responsibilities. Even more impressive, Clay has played in 8 USGA events. He played in 4 as an amateur, or 4 as representing Mississippi in the USGA State Team Championship. He played 3 as an amateur and 1 as a mid-am. To just play in 1 is amazing. To say Clay's game travels is an understatement. Just an incredible record, an incredible talent. But in closing, I know Clay is super proud of all his golf accomplishments. Although you would never hear Clay Hoban brag about it, not one time have I ever heard that. Testament to his character. But I know he's more proud to be a husband to his beautiful wife, Kim, and a father to his 3 lovely children, Ivy Francis, Henry, and Lewis. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend, Clay Hoban.
Well, thank you for the warm introduction, Richard. And this is an incredible evening. I'd like to first thank the Country Club of Jackson and the membership for hosting this special evening. An evening that showcases the best of Mississippi golf, a time to reflect, a time to recognize, and a time to celebrate the past, present, and the future of this game. It's only fitting that it's held at the best club, one of the best clubs in the South. I'd also like to thank the MGA and their staff led by Carter Page. For many years, the Mississippi Golf Association has provided me and countless others a stage, a place to play and compete against one another while fostering the growth of golf on just about every skill level and age group. Carter and his team do an outstanding job of making every event feel first class. The time and effort that they devote to this organization does not go unnoticed. Kyle, congratulations to you on being this year's recipient of the Robbie Webb Award. Watching you compete as a player and then as a coach, the passion you've had toward this game has always showed. You're impacting young people's lives through your knowledge, but more importantly, your kindness toward others. I can't think of a more deserving person to receive this award than you. Congratulations to all the MGA champions and honorees. Whether it's your first win or whether it's your 10th win, they are all special and they are all great achievements. achievements that you will remember the rest of your lives. Thank you to the Mississippi Golf Hall of Fame Committee, who thought enough of me to be recognized alongside past Hall of Fame members, as well as tonight's 3 other deserving honorees. Chris, congratulations to you and your family on your father's induction. I'm sort of a history buff when it comes to golf, and there aren't too many trophies in Mississippi that don't have your father's name engraved on them. It just shows the impact he had on golf in this state as a player and as a person. Congratulations to Mr. Johnny Lang. I had the opportunity to play alongside John in the first 2 rounds of the 2016 State Amateur at Reunion. I can barely remember a shot I hit that week, but what I do remember is that Johnny took the time to send me a note after I won, congratulating me, just letting me know how impressed he was that I could accomplish such a feat at the age of 44. Coming from you, John, that meant an awful lot to me, and it still does. And lastly, congratulations to my friend Steve Wilson. Steve and I have gone toe-to-toe on many occasions, pushing each other to our limits. Steve was always as gracious in defeat as he was in victory. We played in several team events together representing Mississippi, and I can tell you that Steve, it was always good to have Steve on your team. We always had a blast, and your victory in the U.S. Mid-Am inspired Mississippi golfers everywhere to realize that they not only could compete on a national level, but that they could win. During last year's ceremony, some of you may remember that Mr. Joe Sanderson spoke about a turtle in a fence post. He said that anytime you see a turtle sitting on top of a fence post, you know that that turtle didn't get up there all by himself. Well, I've thought a lot about that since then, and I know without a doubt that I wouldn't be standing up here tonight without the help of many others. I'm joined here tonight by my wife, Kim, my daughter, Ivy Francis, my 2 sons, Henry and Lewis. All the trophies and recognitions are nice, but you 4 are the best rewards and the best trophies I've ever received. Being a spouse to a college coach isn't easy, especially when you have to raise 3 young children without a lot of help. Kim, somehow, some way you did it without killing me in the process. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and how much I love you. My mom and dad have always supported me chasing my dream. The days were long, the trips were sometimes far, and the expenses were high. But no matter what, I knew I had parents that loved me regardless of what I shot or how many times I failed. My mom logged countless rounds watching me play through the 100-degree heat, as well as those cold, rainy days where it would have been just as easy for her to stay inside. She didn't miss many college tournaments, often walking 36 holes a day. My stats, she kept on her scorecard, were always spot on. She never missed a 3-putt or an up and down for par. She was always my biggest fan. My dad never pushed me into golf. That's probably why I loved it so much. But he always told me that the lessons learned in golf were synonymous with business and life. And he supported me when I wanted to try my hand at playing golf professionally. Sure, I never reached the PGA Tour, but the knowledge I gained on my journey was not in vain. I never have considered myself a great player, only a competitor who just hated the feeling of losing. I was a fair high school player, but I didn't grow up taking golf lessons, and I really didn't know what it took to be great. All I knew was how to hit hooks and slices around hilly Fulton Country Club, and mostly how to gamble. The summer after I graduated from high school, I played in the Bubba Conley National Junior in Memphis. It was close to home in one of the top junior tournaments in the country. After it was over and somewhat satisfied that I had finished in 5th place, a parent who had watched me play that week said, "Son, you could be pretty good if you knew anything about course management." After he walked away, I thought to myself, what in the world is he even talking about? I was so naive that I didn't even know what I didn't know. Later that summer, I got the call that I had been waiting for my whole life. Baird Smith, the head golf coach at Mississippi State at the time, called me and told me that he had a spot for me on the Mississippi State golf team. There was no scholarship money, but I didn't care. All I wanted was to wear the maroon and white that I had been pulling for since I could remember. I showed up that August, not knowing what to expect. It didn't take me long to realize that I was the 8th best player on an 8-man team. Playing alongside Watt Watley, Robbie Ware, Chad Ginn, Doug Barron, Benji Nelson, and others, I was nothing more than a spectator that first year. I spent more time working on my social life than I did my golf game, and it showed, didn't it, Benji? I redshirted my first year after not coming close to qualifying for a tournament. My second year, I played a couple of college events, but was still trying to find my way. The third year, many of our best players had moved on and graduated, so I pretty much made every tournament by default, but with only mediocre results. I was floundering around just hoping that the bounces would go my way, but I wasn't prepared to win. It wasn't until January of my 4th year that my path in life took a new direction. Day one, he set the wheels in motion to do just that. We had 5:30 a.m. workouts 3 or 4 days a week where we would run miles upon miles, always on Friday mornings, where it sure would have been more fun to stay at the landing on Thursday night with our buddies. Everything was a competition under Coach Martin, and everything had consequences. We would run 150-yard sprints up a steady incline in honor of every team that beat us at our last tournament we played in. He called it Victory Hill. With each sprint, it made us more determined to not let that team beat us again, and that every shot mattered. We played and practiced in the worst weather imaginable. The colder, wetter, or windier it got, the more our coach loved it. He got us comfortable being uncomfortable. No amount of wind, rain, sleet, or snow could cancel a practice. We learned not to complain or to make excuses for anything. Although I didn't realize it at the time, he was trying to find out who was willing to sacrifice and who wasn't. Quitting never crossed my mind. Structure and discipline were exactly what I needed, and what I had grown up with my entire life. I just needed to get back to it. In order to get our team GPA up, we had 10 hours of study hall per week, no matter if you were a freshman or a senior. Cutting class wasn't an option. There was a good chance Coach Martin was sitting in the back row waiting to see if you got there on time. We had to show up each day at the course clean shaven, clothes ironed, shoes wiped clean, and hats removed when you walked inside. We were expected to pick up after ourselves, making sure we had left the range and course in better shape than we'd found it. Our golf bags had first aid kits in them, ready for the unexpected blister or cut. We carried umbrellas and rain suits on the sunniest of days. a roll of kite string for the rare occasion where your ball or your opponent's ball was in doubt on whether it was inbounds or out of bounds. He taught us about angles, getting on a certain side of the tee box to create the best angle and to eliminate the trouble on that particular hole. We learned about taking notes in preparation for a tournament. We had compasses to chart north, south, east, and west in order to have proper knowledge of wind direction. The Boy Scouts had nothing on us. We were about as prepared as we could be by the end of that first semester under Coach Martin. He squeezed every bit of talent we had in us and then some, but mostly he refined our character by the hard work and accountability that he demanded. He never asked us to do anything that he didn't do himself. He'd be right there with us, bad knees and all, running in the rain, sometimes with the flu, in order to make a point to us. The point was that you can do more than you think. And then when it would be easy to give up, you keep going. We went from finishing at the bottom of the SEC in 1993 to playing in the league group with Florida and Auburn in the final round of the 1994 SEC Championship, all with a ragtag group of men who just kept going. I could go on and on about the impact that Greg Martin had on my short time as one of his players, but he reshaped me and turned me from being just another below-average college player into being an all-SEC player. I have been able to accomplish what I have in the game of golf, not because of my talent, but because someone poured into a 21-year-old young man and was shown how to persevere. Trying to be the toughest-minded, most prepared player in the field has been my formula for success since 1994, the year I won my first state amateur and the year Coach Greg Martin and I first crossed paths. After college and after about 4 years of playing professional golf, I wasn't ready to give up the game that I was passionate about. So in the fall of 1999, I called up my mentor, and he gave me my first job as an assistant coach at Rice University. As fate would have it, I would end up back at Mississippi State to serve 14 years as head coach. What a privilege it was getting to lead hundreds of young men at my alma mater. Seeing them become successful doctors, lawyers, businessmen, PGA Tour players, and even a few college golf coaches is still so rewarding. However, the most rewarding thing is watching them become great husbands, fathers, and friends. I learn way more from them than they learn from me, and this honor belongs to them as well. Jake Lambert, Josh Aller, Fletcher Johnson, you're all here tonight. I appreciate it. Just like the turtle, we don't get up on top of that fence post all by ourselves. Many of you here tonight, we first met because we shared a mutual love and respect for the game of golf. Those introductions over time turn into lifelong friendships, and for that, I'm grateful. I can't imagine my life without the relationships this game has afforded me. Thank you all for sharing this evening with my family and me, and may God bless you all.
Our final inductee tonight will be Johnny Lang, presented by Steve Gent.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? I guess a couple other people we need to thank tonight or think about it is we talked about the CCJ food and beverage. Just give a big hand for the CCJ bartenders. When Johnny told me we were going last and I'm going second to last, I thought, whoa, it could be a long evening. So the other thing I want to just if you don't kind of pay attention, and I did on the screen earlier, of the PGA Tour players from Mississippi Wilson Furr made his first cut on the PGA Tour today. He and Chad Ramey are tied at 27th in Mexico at Vedanta. Davis Riley missed the cut, and but to have three of those guys in this field, and I was in Phoenix a couple weeks ago and saw Hayden Buckley. It's just amazing to have this many guys from the state of Mississippi on the PGA Tour right now. So big round of applause for those guys. Who are they and why are they here? Who are they and why are they here? Those are the questions asked by countless numbers of people when they walk into a Hall of Fame. Whether it's Cooperstown or Canton, Springfield or Brandon, Halls of Fame guests look at the plaques and they wonder, what put this individual or team here and who are they? I'm honored and humbled to introduce Johnny Lang tonight. When he called me a few weeks ago and said, Pards, I want you to introduce me, I immediately felt unworthy, but I am honored. And in thinking about what to say, the right things to say tonight, I felt you can read about his accolades in the program and online. And in a few minutes, Johnny, I'm sure, will tell you and thank those special people to him that helped him along this journey. But I wanted to let you know a little bit about the who and the who are they, half of that question when people wonder, when they look at Johnny Lang's plaque and wondered, who are they? To so many of his friends and family, Johnny Lang is golf. And golf is Johnny Lang, so naturally bound together. Johnny and I sat down a few weeks ago to talk about tonight, and the game just has always been a part of his life for as long as he can remember. From being dropped off at the course as a kid to now mentoring Johnny, to think of the game of golf come to mind almost immediately. His friends I talk to talk about this relentless passion for not only the game of golf, but for any project that he puts his mind to and that he deems to be the right thing to do. Everyone seems to have at least one club in their bag that Johnny's given him. It probably hasn't been hitting very many times. He single-handedly keeps Edwin Watson business, and he gives so unselfishly of his time and drives immense satisfaction from helping everyone around him. Individual putting lessons at the crack of dawn, an hour before Saturday tee time, are not uncommon for Johnny Lang and his golf group. I spoke to each of his three girls, Jilly, Viv, and Preston, and all of their earliest memories of their dad are about golf. Preston said she was surprised to hear about his induction because she thought he was always in the Hall of Fame. She remembers the stories he would tell about the celebrities at Bel Air, about how he downplayed it because they were just his members to him. I mean, Connery, Nicholson, Garner, they were just his members. She remembers how boys would swoon, her words, not mine, when they found out that her dad was Johnny Lang. How he just asked his girls for their best, not the best, but their best, and to be happy. Jilly said it was hard to settle for their best when their dad's best was the best. She remembers how he won so many trophies that they started rotating the trophies amongst them when he would get home, and they would argue about who got the next one. And this to this day, Julie said the smell of Gatorade, peanut butter, and crackers reminds her immediately of her dad coming home from playing golf. Vivian told me how her dad is larger than life, heroic to her, how all their generation know how good Johnny is, and he plays with them all the time. How he put together an amazing set of clubs for her husband from the stock in his garage, and how everyone in the Charlottesville, Virginia area now talk to her about her dad because of the hole-in-one he made at Farmington Country Club when he played it for the first time, and there was a newspaper article written about it. So everyone in Charlottesville knows Johnny Lang more than her. His wife Hannah succinctly put what everyone knows. Johnny will play golf with anyone of all skill levels, genders, and races, and he wants to help you enjoy the game. He knows how much good can come from and through the game of golf. I first met Johnny about 11 years ago on a hot July Mississippi day. I'd heard through a friend that the PGA Tour, if this new title sponsor, Sanderson Farms, agreed to a multi-year deal, the host organization might be looking for a title sponsor and hire a full-time staff. A tournament director and hire a full-time staff. So I came into town quietly. I checked out the tournament during the Wednesday Pro-Am, and I met Johnny for about 45 minutes. Johnny and Todd Budnick were probably the only people who knew I was on site. Johnny and I sat in a quiet corner of a hospitality venue and talked about the event and the possible future, what could happen if Sanderson Farms signed on. Now, if you're in the PGA Tour tournament world, there's only 40 or so of these tournament director positions in the country. So it's sort of like being an NFL head coach. If one opens up, you want it. It doesn't really matter where it is, but you want to be a head coach on the PGA Tour. And I felt like I just sat with the owner and the general manager of the franchise. A few weeks later, Sanderson Farms did sign a 3-year agreement, and I followed up immediately with Johnny. He explained that Century Club was going to be putting together a search committee, and he would let me know how to apply. As you can imagine, I was ready to go. So waiting even longer was agonizing. Johnny told me later if it was up to him, we'd be moving forward. But he had a plan. Without telling me at the time, he knew that if I ran the gauntlet of a search committee and came out as the winner, I would have the support and buy-in of everyone involved in the process, not just him, but paving the way for me and my team to be successful. I tell you that story to emphasize what I found out over the last 11 years and what everyone in this room knows and what everybody I talk to knows. Johnny firmly believes that it's never wrong to do the right thing, even if it's not the quickest or most popular route. When Johnny and I sat down, he told me things have come to him in twos. 2 state AMs, 2 collegiate wins at Ole Miss, 2 mid-AMs, 2 Cloverleafs for you guys at Northwood. And he said he had to win the second one to prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. 2 loves of his life. And I would add 2 sets of things that I know he's immensely proud. The first set is his 3 daughters and their accomplishment. The second set are these following 3 things: the golf course renovation at CCJ, getting Joe Sanderson degree to Sanderson Farms being our title sponsor. And I know he's immensely proud of what we've been able to do. $17 million raised since 2013 for charities. Getting our local First Tee chapter off the ground, which is a direct descendant, if you want to use that word, of the Friends of Golf started by the little pro Eddie Mehrens in California in 1980. Johnny told me many years ago during one of our many conversations, and we can both talk a lot. He said, "Pards, my goal is to have a golf club in my hand every day, even if it's just to hold it, to work on my grip. I want a club in my hand every day." Typical Johnny, always a student, always work on his game. Johnny, for all of us who have been around you, us, and the game are better because we've been in your grip. Thank you for all you've done for all of us. Congrats, Lewis. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Lang.
I had the good fortune of presenting Mike Taylor, Eddie Mehrens, and Joe Sanderson. And all I can tell you is I don't belong in that class. So I'm not really sure why I'm here, but thank you very much. There, that's better. I can see it. My good friend Henry Cloud is in the house tonight. Henry is famous as a psychologist and a faith-based author, but I knew him first as a range rat from Vicksburg. As a teenager, he spent summers at Northwood with me and Bilbo Mitchell. We played a lot of golf. Henry went to play golf at SMU the same time I went off to Ole Miss. We met back up in LA when I was at Bel Air and he was doing his doctoral work. Henry has been working on a new book for a number of years, 7 to be exact, and it's finally coming out this summer. I plan on making it the #1 bestseller. I had the pleasure of being a ghost editor as he was writing it, and I have a totally new respect for authors and what they go through. This new book is called To My Friends, and it's Henry's revelation of a myriad of God moments in his life. Henry is convinced and convincing that he has heard from God on many occasions and that God has shepherded his life. And as I was reading the chapters, I told Henry, I said, I'm really jealous. I mean, I grew up in a great Christian home. Mom and Dad were warriors, and I'd believed in God my whole life and prayed to God my whole life, and he'd never spoken to me or ever intervened in my life. And Henry bust out laughing and said, "Are you serious? You think all the incredible things that happened in your life were just luck? It's much more likely that God put those people, wonderful people in your life to get you to this place." What an epiphany. All along I thought it was me. We can't pick our parents and we can't pick our siblings, but the ones God picked for me were awesome. My mom and dad were tremendous. And Leah and Lorraine are still my biggest fans, despite all they know about me. God put golf in my life, first by making me really mediocre in all the other sports, and then by putting me in Meridian. My family moved our 5th and final time to Meridian from Baton Rouge the summer before my 5th grade. And to get me out of mom's way, Dad would drop me off at Northwood on his way to work. My first golf group was Leroy Pickens, Prentice McLemore, Sheepy Houston, Walter Clark. 4 African-American men that worked at Northwood. Northwood allowed them to play as long as they were done by 8 o'clock check-in. Understand, this was 1967, and the KKK was burning crosses in yards. And that was my first golf group. The brothers let a skinny white, 11-year-old white kid play with them, and they taught me so much, especially a love for the game. They absolutely loved the game. And they were so fun. Golf crosses all barriers, race, age, class, politics, ability. Spend hours on a golf course with someone and you build your own shared history. The next summer, I breached the gender barrier and played daily with a girl that loved golf just as much as I did. Lou Weddington beat the crap out of me every day until she went off to Florida State. It takes a village to raise a golfer, and my village was Northwood. Bill Davis taught us all. I learned tournament golf caddying as a kid. I was on the bag for victories for Johnny DeMint, Chuck Ray, Clay Long, and at least a dozen for Mike Taylor. Mike was so good, he made everybody better, including his caddy. Northwood, in my window, we had 20 kids in a 15-year period go off to play college golf on scholarship. It was a phenomenal place to grow up as a golfer. In fact, Henry will tell you, I really should have been a lot better player having grown up at Northwood. I have many fond memories of Ole Miss golf, not the least of which was spending a lot of time with Professor Bob Travis. I can't imagine God actually speaking to Traveler, but it was Bob's call to his close friend, Eddie Marins, that changed my life. I was between grad school and law school when Eddie invited me to go to work at Bel Air in Los Angeles. Bel Air in the early 80s was President Reagan, and it was Sean Connery and Jack Nicholson and Jerry West and Dean Martin and all these fascinating people. It didn't take much to convince my girlfriend, Angela Williams, to marry me and move to LA. My first year at Bel Air, God managed to find Southern gentleman and one of the golf's greatest ambassadors. I have more Eddie stories than I do Mike Taylor stories. We all have our roots. The most fortunate of us have theirs in Mississippi, and Eddie never forgot his. I met my very own fairy godfather at Bel Air. Max Schockenman was a 66-year-old Swiss billionaire consumed with learning golf. We became great friends. He took us to Europe a dozen times, and he taught me most of what I know about business and about life. And he gave me my very own little brother, Eric. Angela eventually wanted to start a family, so we moved back to Mississippi. And God proceeded to bless us with 3 wonderful daughters, Julie, Preston, and Vivian, the greatest joys in my life. Raising daughters is a really scary proposition. And mercifully, mine took after their moms. And now they're mothers to my 6 little grandchildren. God is so good. And when God decided to take Angela home, he gave us Hannah. She had babysat our girls in Raleigh and had known and loved Angela. She was never in my soulmate and my trophy wife. And after 20 years of good behavior, I got her mom, darling Claire. On more than one occasion, he said, "Make a difference, son," but he never really gave me any instructions. So to Jimmy Bradford, who hired me and Mike Taylor and taught me the joy of the investment business, which is the second or third favorite thing in my life. Bones Cosser got me involved in Century Club Charities 25 years ago. He still takes and on occasion, let me pick up the check. Tom Sykes is in the room. Tom taught me the true meaning of grace in exchange for golf lessons, and he brought Angela back to it. Tom Hickson put me on the board of the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame and later made me president of Century Club Charities when we had no sponsor and no future. John Fote built us a world-class golf course at CCJ and validated my histrionics. Todd Budnick showed me the way to make a PGA Tour event in Mississippi work, and then he introduced me to Steve Gent, and he called him at the time, before I met Steve, the most overqualified tournament director in waiting in the history of golf. He was spot on. God was all over the creation of the Sanderson Farm Championship. After Joe told me in confidence that he would try it for a year, that first summer at Annandale, 11 different individuals had to make the right decision for us to get a chance, ending and including with John Howie and the CCJ board. And of course, Christy Gent, who had to agree to move her family here based on my dream. Much like Steve Gent, Patrick Joyce, Stanley Reedy, and Jason Prendergrass only needed a bigger canvas to showcase their immense talents. They are all world class. And Steve Boyd and Nick Barone and Nitty and Marcus and Lester and all those clowns at CCJ showed the tour what Southern hospitality is all about. For the last 4 years, they've raved about being here. They love Mississippi. The presidents, Peter Marks, Jeff Hubbard, Pat Busby, and Philip Carpenter all left Century Club better than they found it. Thanks to Kerry and to Pappy and Father Time and the fun gang at Edmund Watts. They're great golf ambassadors, and they never hesitate to donate when I ask, which is often. To the late Al Joyner and 11 of my closest friends for bankrolling the First Tee through its very difficult infancy. The First Tee is that village for kids less fortunate than I am. And Margot and her team are going to change lives through golf. They're going to go statewide before long and make us all really, really proud. To Gabe, Jack, Tony, Bill Ray, and all the wonderful people at Bank Plus for being wonderful business partners and fantastic corporate citizens. And to the incomparable Tammy King and Nancy Lohr, who make me look better every single day. Oh, and to my Jackson Golf reprobate family, TA and Berg and Killer and Chipper and Podsy and Whack Whack and all my favorite guys. They taught me the lesson that golf can still be great fun long after my game actually died. I believe that God puts angels here among us. Joe and Kathy Sanderson are my proof. I know of no finer people on the planet. There would not be a PGA Tour event in Mississippi, nor would we have raised nearly $20 million the last 11 years without Papa Joe. And thanks to Lampkin and Hillary and Pick and Mike and all the Sanderson teams for making it a lot of fun as well as tremendously rewarding. God has truly blessed me. I am the luckiest person I know. And I think he gave me golf for a reason. The game has given me so much. I'll never be able to repay it, but I'm still working on it. And to those that truly love the game and all it does and all it gives you, join the First Tee, join Century Club, get involved, help us make a difference. To the MGA and to my other honorees, thank you all so much.
Four is off to a great start. We had a little ice in January, but we got through that. We've had 70 degrees all this week. It's going to be that way next week. Make your tee times, show up on time for your tee times, and enjoy the game of golf. Good night, everybody.